PTPOP here. All four lobes of my brain securely bound behind my back. Thanks for tuning in. And today I'm going to talk about Verizon and Verizon Wireless closing call centers. And the idea was given to me by one of my subscribers, Sunbreaker33. Thanks for the idea, Sunbreaker. And I had also thought of this as well because a couple of days ago I was just snooping around on Google and I said, let's do a search for Verizon Wireless layoffs. And I found a whole bunch of things that have been going on for a while. First of all, I want to start off by saying these major corporations don't wake up one morning and with a knee-jerk reaction and go, you know what, I think I'll lay me off some people. Let's have a layoff. These things are structured and planned and rolled out over time. There's nothing about these that happen immediately because it's all done with financial analysis, done with actuaries, accountants, and attorneys. They have a whole army of people to plan these things. So if you think that you woke up one day and they just decided to lay a bunch of people off, it just doesn't work this way. And my case in point is with Verizon. I worked at Verizon, I think, from the end of 2008, and I worked just at the end of 2009, something like that. And I told them way back then, they kept pushing us. They kept pushing us to get people just to go to the website to get the answer, because they didn't want to waste the money on having live bodies have to handle the call. So they'd say, well, you know, Mr. Customer, you can find this answer out. Or you'd end the call and say, oh, please keep in mind we have a website, VerizonWireless.com. Go there and you can find all of your answers. And I said to my manager, I said, you're eventually just going to get rid of call centers because you're trying to get people just to go to the website and do the self-service stuff where they answer their own questions just by going to VerizonWireless.com. And they're like, oh, no. They all said, no, we'll never lay people off. They all said, I've been with this company for 15 years. We've never had one layoff. And I said, well, that's not how telecommunications works. They always have layoffs. Telecommunication companies always are restructuring and structuring and restructuring and structuring and restructuring over and over again to maintain their competitiveness in the market. It's like they're treading water. Telecommunications companies are always about to sink. They're in the middle of the ocean. They're treading water, so they always have to plan for future layoffs. So if you work in telecom, especially in this day and age, there's no job security whatsoever. So what I did is I did a research for Verizon Wireless closing call centers, and I found a whole bunch of things. If you look, closing numerous call centers, Verizon Wireless closing call centers, the Journal Star, Verizon Wireless closing call centers in 5 states. And what I did is I did it by year. This is when I found they started this process in at least 2012. This is an article from DSL Reports. It says Verizon is shutting down and consolidating several wireless support call centers in Bellevue, Washington, Houston, Texas, Southfield, Michigan, according to CNET. This is a CNET article, which is a major technology organization that does reviews of technology stuff. It could impact up to 3,100 employees, 3,175 employees, and employees who are being encouraged to apply for jobs at other call centers or look for other positions at Verizon. And the company insists this move is more about consolidation and efficiency than cost cutting. This is corporate gobbledygook and double talk because they're trying to make sure the savages don't get upset, that the subordinates underneath their ivory tower don't get upset and think, oh my God, the company's about to go under. This is just basically saying about consolidation and efficiency. Efficiency is cost cutting because they're trying to run their business and not spend as much money on it. So that's efficiency. You're trying to get rid of people so you're not spending as much money and trying to work with less so you don't spend as much. So this is a gobbledygook. So this this layoff thing started in 2012 with these. Then if you fast forward to Verizon plans to close call centers in 5 states. This original article, this is from Huffington Post. This was originally posted in October of 2016. And it was updated October 14th of 20. I'm sorry. It was This is from 2016. So we go from 2012 to 2016. So we go 4 months, 4 years later. The plans to close call centers in 5 states affecting 3,200 jobs. So we've got a roughly 3,100 there. You've got 3,200 there. So they're breaking this up in increments, little bite sizes of 3,000 employees at a time. This is an egregious example of corporate abuse, among the worst we have witnessed during the 6 years of this administration. And Verizon Wireless, the company which has a workforce of over 162,000 employees, recently agreed to buy Yahoo Incorporated for $4.8 billion as it looks to tap new revenue in areas such as digital media and advertising. So basically, this is all strategically planned because they've gone out, they've made acquisitions that are freaking expensive, and in order to make those acquisitions work and for them to keep their bottom line and to keep the corporate people at the top of the ivory tower, the CEOs and the presidents, keep their pockets lined with billions of dollars, they got to get rid of 3,200 jobs to make this all work. These telecom companies keep buying bigger and more, and they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and buying more and more and more. And it's just getting so out of hand, and it's almost like they're addicted to just getting bigger. Now this is not new. I mean, the Rockefellers did this, the Carnegies did this back in the turn of the 19th and the 20th century with everything that they were involved in with steel and so on. And this article was right after many people who work on the the landline side went on strike. 40,000 Verizon employees of their wireline business. And one of the major points here is the including of the relocation of employees and offshoring of call center jobs. So they're to make up for the massive acquisition of Yahoo. They got to find a way to afford that. So years ago, they started this probably negotiations with Yahoo. They came to an agreement. They made the purchase. And during the purchase process, in the strategic financial planning, they said, how can we do this? Well, we'll start closing call centers. The call centers, as I've said in other videos, the call centers are the redheaded stepchild. They're the grunt of the company, and they're expendable. You guys are the pawns. I've worked in all these call centers. We're all the pawns. You're the frontline guy. You're the guy in the platoon who, the sergeant's throwing you in a machine gun fire and the landmines and to mortar shells, because the general who's sitting back in a cushy office somewhere in Washington, D.C., calling in the battle plan, has decided to throw you guys out. Now, that's 2016. Now we fast forward to this year, just this month. This is from the Communication Workers of America, which is a union that oversees telecommunications workers. This is a legitimate source. I've actually been in communication with them recently because they're trying to unionize T-Mobile's call centers. Verizon Wireless closing 1/3 of U.S. call centers, cutting customer service jobs. Despite claims that the corporate tax cut would stimulate job growth, Verizon Wireless plans to lay off thousands of workers. Now, corporate tax cut that President Trump has put forth has absolutely no bearing on this whatsoever, because as you can see, these call center closings have been planned now since at least 2012. So they had a plan that every couple of years they're going to get rid of a couple of call centers. And they've spread it out so it doesn't have as much of an impact on the overall infrastructure of the company. It doesn't make a big splash and a big bad news event so that all the media picks up on it. This is big. This is real big. But if they had laid off, say, 15 to 20,000 people back in 2012, they would have been cutting off their nose to spite their face. It would have also created panic amongst the stockholders, causing people to liquidate their stock, creating more of a financial burden for the company at the time. They chop it up into thirds, and they project this out over a couple of years. So here, Verizon is characterizing these closures as a necessary part of its transition to a home-based workforce at 6 of its 18 existing call centers. But this transition masks the employment loss that will result. Okay. 18 call centers they've got left. And This union is trying to fight it, but most of the Verizon wireless call centers aren't unionized. The one I was at wasn't. What Verizon is doing to save money, when they're talking about home-based jobs, they're talking about people that work from home from Verizon. So as I said before in one of my videos about a year ago, I said call centers are a thing of the past. They're going to start getting rid of call centers because they're too expensive to run. They're way too expensive. You've got these massive structures, like some of these places are 1 million square feet. You've got a million square foot call center with the call center. You've got training rooms. You've got a cafeteria. Some of them have gyms. They're massive. You have to pay to heat these. You have to pay to put electricity in them. You have to pay for the water. You have to do all this stuff. Now, long before they build these call centers, they make deals with the local mafia and the local, I'm sorry, not mafia, but the local politicians. Oh, same difference. Sorry about that. Where they get breaks, they get tax cuts, and they get breaks in the utilities, and they get cuts in the electricity because they're bringing jobs to the area. But still, even with all these breaks and stuff, some of the tax breaks and stuff expire over time. So as the tax breaks and all the, the behind-the-scenes handshakes start to dissolve, the call centers get too expensive to run. They're so expensive that they just start shutting them down. And I said this was going to happen. So they're sending people to their homes. They're having people like me sit in a little room in their house and take calls all day. So now the employee is working from home. So he's using his own home. He's paying his own utilities. He's paying his own water. He's paying everything, so the company no longer is liable for all those things. It cuts down on the company's liability insurance because they no longer have to worry about somebody getting hurt on a company premises. Because these companies pay millions of dollars in liability insurance policies in case somebody slips and falls, the break room, or somebody comes in and shoots up the place, or whatever happens to be. There's all kinds of insurance liabilities these days. So by doing this, they're removing themselves from insurance liability. They're removing themselves from having to pay massive mortgages, rent payments, utilities. It's freeing up a huge amount of capital for them to operate with. Verizon Wireless has already closed 19 call centers since 2012, affecting 11,000 workers. And while House Speaker Paul Ryan and President Trump promised that the passing the text, this has nothing to do with the past. I don't know. I guess CWA must be kind of anti-Trump, but Trump has nothing to do with this. If this started in 2012, so Obama was president, and they've been planning this based off the acquisitions they want to make in the future. This has nothing to do with President Trump. Verizon continues to use third-party contractors around the world. These contractors often pay poverty wages, boosting profits for corporate executives and large shareholders. Now that is completely true. And I would say if you're in a call center right now and you work in communications Workers of America represents 700,000 working men and women in telecommunications, customer service, media, airlines, so on and so forth. I would contact Amy or Beth here. Write to them, if you're really concerned and you want to try to get your call center unionized. But one thing I would warn you against is you're going to get blackballed. You may even get physically roughed up. You'll definitely get blackballed, and you may lose your job over it because nobody wants a union. Unions are dying, but they're one thing I think from what I've known and my friends' fathers who have worked in the auto industry here in Cleveland. They liked the unions because they kind of protected them. They gave them reasonable working environments and protected their jobs, or tried to. But I don't think the unions have the pull they once did. This is T-Mobile, completely different company. I don't think they're affiliated at all with Verizon. This is the same time frame, 2012, March 2012. T-Mobile to cut 5% of workforce, close 7 call centers. See, this is an industry-wide thing. These companies are constantly metamorphosizing, changing, and trying to get a strategic grasp on the competition by reorganizing, selling off parts of their business, reacquiring new parts of the business, become more strategically, I'm talking corporate now, become strategically advanced to compete with the competitors. Right here, it will cut 5% of its workforce and closing 7 call centers. Now, this is 6 years ago. But they say here, as both Verizon and AT&T continue to add subscribers, T-Mobile shed 1.7 million customers last year alone. No, T-Mobile's a totally different animal because they're not as successful as Verizon or AT&T. They're not as large. So I know a few years ago AT&T and T-Mobile attempted to merge, but I believe the government, or the United States government, said that it violated antitrust agreements, and it would have given them a monopoly in certain areas, which isn't allowed by U.S. law. If you fast forward to 2018, look at this website I found on YouTube. Look at this channel I found on YouTube. It's Justice at T-Mobile. Now, I'm not going to play all these, but look at all these. These people are all current and former. I think they're all current employees that are trying to unionize the T-Mobile market. And they're trying to get free and safe and healthy work environments because it's a very toxic atmosphere. Now, these are call center workers. So look at this channel I found. This is Justice at T-Mobile. This is a channel dedicated to, it's a joint effort by T-Mobile workers, current workers, and a coalition of community and labor groups around the world to make T-Mobile USA a company where workers are treated with respect. Now, if you go back here and you watch some of these people's videos, these are current employees. Here's a little thing they've come up with. I'm not going to let it play, but they talk about the same things I've talked about. The paramedics coming, stressful environment, treated unfairly, racial and sexual discrimination. And I'm not certain what this thing is here about We Are All Josh, but I'm going to do a research on that. But these call centers, these telecommunications call centers specifically, are massive asylums, and they treat everybody like an inmate. You may as well have razor wire and Nazi prison guards in there. They treat you horrifically. And these people should be unionized. They should have unions in these. I've never worked for a union, but I have had friends, parents work for unions in the automobile industry, and they vow by them. They live by them. But take a look at this. Now, this company has the T-Mobile Workers United website, and there's a whole bunch of other information on here. They're working with the CWA to become unionized, to try to get better working environment for all their employees. Let's see what this We Are All Josh thing is. Let's look that up. We Are All Josh. I know I'm Josh. Well, I don't know who this Josh fella is, but I want to know now. Let's look up Josh on their website. Let's see what this telecom. Why they spell it with a K, I don't know if that's European or what. Yeah, it's Deutsche Telekom. Telecom workers show solidarity for Josh. All right. That doesn't tell me anything. Thanks for the cute song, people, but you're not going to get any justice for this guy. I've been making cute songs. That's all Hollywood, people. Stop with the Hollywood. Here's the basic story. August 29th, workers at T-Mobile Germany, Deutsche Telekom, have come out in a huge show of support for Josh, a T-Mobile worker who was recently fired for bogus reasons from a call center in Wichita, Kansas. They know T-Mobile workers in the United States deserve to be treated better, and they have our back in our fight for a voice at T-Mobile. I don't know what that is. It doesn't tell me anything, people. How are you people getting unionized if you don't even know how to organize stuff and get the message out there? Stop it with the cutesy-poo crappy songs about this guy Josh. I still don't know who this guy Josh is, or why he got fired, or why he got let go. I bet you they got too politically charged and they abandoned Josh. I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of these people, at least they're trying to organize. Become a member. This is just a push to become a member of a union. I don't know who this guy Josh was. The call centers and the employees of the call centers are being used as pawns in a war to get bigger and bigger and bigger. They're the foot soldiers of the organizations. They're the expendable pawns that are put on the chopping block every time the company makes a new acquisition, or decides they want to buy a new candy bar, or they want to buy a new Porsche, or the CEO needs a new pool, and they want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the first people to go are the people in the retail stores and the call centers. I don't know how informative this was, but if you work in a call center, you always have to have your resume together. Make sure you have your resume up to date, especially if you work in telecommunications. And Sunbreaker 33, thanks for the idea. I hope this was informative. I'll talk to you later. Bye.